Hi, everybody. My name is Jason,
I'm Caden.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Eli.
and we are the Yahoo and the Torah channel, and we are reading through the letters of Brother Shaul. Now, the letters of Brother Shaul can be very hard to understand, and so we are trying to figure out what he's trying to say in a lot of these things. And we have had this series, and we are going through these right here with the all of Brother Shaul's writings, and we have made it through 1 Timothy, made it through Titus, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, and now we are in Romans. We are in the book of 9th chapter of Romans, and some of the stuff that Paul says adds to and takes away to the Torah. And so it actually doesn't take away from it, but it does add to it. And so what we need to do is we need to be good Bereans, and we need to study this. We need to see what he's saying. What does he mean? What does he really mean? And the problem with Brother Shaul is that he has led millions, if not billions, of people straight into the pits of hell. And they will say that they have no need for the law. They say that because Brother Shaul says there's no need for the law, that is their doctrine. And they believe that the Torah of our Creator is gone. And the Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible. Up here, it's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And that is the instruction book that we have. That is how we know what sin is. And if you've tossed them on the cross or tossed them in the ditch and you say they no longer apply to you, then they don't apply to you. And you are a Gentile, and there is no house of Gentile that will ever be saved. If you guys read Hebrews 8, the Gentiles are not saved. The house of Yah is. And so we need to pick our sides and pick which side we want to be on. And if you want to be on our Creator's side, then our Creator asks us that we keep His laws, statutes, and commands for all generations. And so here we begin in Romans 9, and we will do what we have and what we call as our handy-dandy split screen. And we're there. Okay, and we got it. So this is some of the heavy, hard-to-understand things of Brother Shaul. Here we go. I say the truth in Mashiach, I lie not, my conscience also bearing me witness in the Ruach HaKodesh, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Mashiach, for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Yashrael, to whom pertains the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the Torah and the service of Elohim and the promises. All right, so in the words of hard to understand Brother Shaul, what is he saying right there?
I think he's saying he would rather go to hell than all the rest of his brother go to hell. If he could just give up his soul for them, he would do it. I think he's sad that he can't do that, because he sees them all going astray.
Yeah, verse 3 of NIV says, For I wish that I myself were cursed and cut off from Christ for the sake of my people, those of my own race. Wow, that's hard. That's hard. That's hardcore, Brother Shaul. So then, yeah, I think that's exactly what he is saying on that. And so, who are Yashrael, to whom pertains the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the Torah and the service of Elohim and the promises. Eli, what is the service of Elohim?
It'd be the Torah and like teaching people the Torah.
Keeping the Torah, right? You are in service when you are in covenant, and if you are not in covenant, you are not going to be servicing our Creator. Verse 5. Whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Mashiach came, who is over all, Elohim blessed forever. Amen. Okay, so in NIV it says, theirs are the patriarchs, and from them is traced the human ancestry of the Messiah, who is God over all, forever praised. See, we do know that Messiah Yahusha is not our Creator. He is not God. And so
here's
the king actually says, instead of, see, the NIV really butchered that thing, because it says Messiah, who is God over all. That he is not God over all.
Here, let me
read in Hallelujah Scriptures.
Whose are the fathers, and from whom is Hamashiach, according to all flesh, who is over all, Baruch of Yahuwah forever. Amen.
Yeah, right, blessed. So when it says Baruch, and so Caden's reading from the Hallelujah Scriptures. The top left we have the King James. The top right we have the NIV. The bottom we have one called Thus Sefer. And Nicola's reading. Are you reading out the Amplified?
The Amplified.
She's reading out the Amplified Bible. So
and mine says, to them belong the patriarchs, and as far as his natural descendant was concerned, from them is the Christ, who exalted and supreme over all. God bless forever. Amen.
Yeah, and so if you take a look at NIV, when it says ancestry of the Messiah, who is God over all, that is a very, very bad translation because Messiah Yahusha is not Yah. He is not God. He's the Son of God. Verse 6. Not as though the word of Elohim has taken no effect, for they are not all Yashrael, which are of Yashrael. Neither because they are the seed of Abram, are they all children, but in Yitzchak shall your seed be called. Okay, what is he saying with this?
There's one Torah for everyone, basically. Not all the people that keep the Torah from Yisrael.
Right, but there are people from Yashrael, which are from Yashrael, but they're not all, right? Because if you might be in Yisrael, but you, like the modern day Jews, they are not in covenant with our Creator because they do very evil things. Okay, verse 8. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of Elohim, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. What does it mean to be children of the flesh? Anyone?
Children of the world, to be children of evil, sinful in the nature, living in the way of sin, and not having the Torah. That's the way of the flesh.
Absolutely. Without Torah, you are in the flesh. For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. Okay, and there's a footnote here because I don't
Just going back to
Genesis.
Genesis.
Okay, just
18,
18:10-4. Okay, and so what does he say right here? What does that mean? Sarah shall have a son, and what is he even talking about?
He's referring back to the promise, the words of the promise
Of who?
of Abraham.
Right. Okay.
And
Verse
see,
10.
that's what mine says in 8. It has of Abraham in parentheses.
Okay, yours is in parentheses, Abram.
Yeah.
Okay. 10. And not only this, but when Rivka also had conceived by one, even by our father Yitzchak. Okay, and what's it saying there?
That Rivka also had the children as well. The promise continued on through Rivka and Yitzchak.
Okay, 11. For the children being not born, yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Elohim according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calls. Okay, and so this is in parentheses. This is completely in parentheses, as it is in the King. Everything that is in parentheses is a translator's note. It is things that were not in the text. And so if you want to know what man-made doctrines look like, this is a man-made doctrine in parentheses. Anything in parentheses means it was not here, that the translators are putting in there supposedly to help us figure this out. But it says right there, not of works, but of him that calleth. And so that is that is confusing. Does anyone have any idea? What's your say, Kate?
So starting back from
What's 11 say?
11. Yet before they were born, or had done any good or evil, in order that the purpose of Elohim, according to the choice, might stand, not of works, but of him who calls.
Okay. So anyone want to take a stab at this?
I think he was just saying Elohim's will
I think he
be
knew.
above everything. Like Elohim chose Yitzchak, or he chose Jacob before anything had ever happened before. They had even been born, before they sinned, before they didn't sin, and before anything happened. He already had chosen them. He already had a plan for them.
Right. 12. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. And who is that? Who do you say that to?
That's Rebecca when she had Esau and Jacob.
Right. As it is written, Yaakov have I loved, but Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with Elohim? Never. For he says to Moshe, I will have mercy on him whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that wills, nor of him that runs, but of Elohim that shows mercy. Okay, guys, and this is our roof. We tried to dial this in a time it wasn't going to rain. It looks like the rain snuck up on us, so it might get loud here, but we are going to continue on with this for just a bit. For the scripture says unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised you up, that I might show my power in you, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. Okay, what's he talking about here?
So he's saying that he showed everything that happened to Pharaoh. He let it all happen so that the people would fear Elohim's name as they went through, as the Israelites went through.
Why he hardened Pharaoh's heart. Therefore has he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he hardens. Very true. You will say then unto me, why does he yet find fault? For who has resisted his will? Okay, what does that say? NIV says, one of you will say to me, then why does God still blame us for who is able to resist his will? So that's a good question, right? If Pharaoh's heart was able to be hardened by Yah, was this Pharaoh's fault, all of this stuff happened, or is it the hand of Yah that is orchestrating it? Anyone? Questions? Anyone?
Well, I mean, you have the verse below that explains just a little bit.
And here's what I think is if Pharaoh was not an evil guy, then Yah would not have been using him in this fashion regardless. So whatever happens, it is Yah's will, but it is literally by the hand of Pharaoh that he did this.
He literally had slave drivers. He did not serve Elohim as the previous Pharaoh of Joseph's time did. He was worshiping other mighty ones. I mean, that was the way of Pharaohs after Joseph died, was to punish the Israelites, was to punish the people that were coming into the land and enslave them and worship other gods. That was literally the thing. That's why the Israelites were enrooted with building the golden calf. That's why they knew God worship, false God worship was a thing because of the Egyptians, because of their pagan roots and all their heritage from there. So,
Right.
I mean, they weren't holy people to begin with.
Right. Nay, but, O man, who are you that reply against Elohim? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why have you made me thus? Anyone have a better translation?
NIV.
But who are you, O man, to talk back to Elohim? Shall that which is formed say to him who formed it, why have you made me like this?
Yeah, it's like people blaming Yah for all this stuff. Yeah, and it's referencing footnote Isaiah 29:16 and 45:9. Okay. Has not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? So it's basically questioning Yah. He's like, can he make one clay that is decent or one that's bad? What if Elohim, willing to show his wrath, and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory? So, you want to take a stab at this? Eli, you can take a stab? So
His power. I don't know. It's really confusing even in the Hallelujah.
He's just, yeah, so what's your say?
And if Elohim, desiring to show wrath and make his power known, with much patience tolerated the vessels of wrath prepared for destruction. Is he saying he makes people to wrath?
No, what this is saying. So Paul is asking questions. There's questions here. He's like, so what? One of them was, if God is Yah is able to harden people's heart, is it really the fault of the people? And then also he says, what if Yah, choosing to show his wrath and make his power known, bore with great? He basically waited and waited and waited to show his wrath on all of this, right? He was a very patient Elohim that he was willing to show his patience on this. All right, are we at 24?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, even us, whom he has called, not of the Yahudim only, but also of the other nations. Okay, so this is where the Christians will say, hey, the house of Gentile is going to be saved. And we try to explain to folks that there is no house of Gentile, that Gentiles will not be saved. If you are a Gentile, that simply means you are out of covenant with our Creator. If it means you are out of covenant with the Creator, that means you're not keeping his laws, statutes, and commands, and you're probably eating pork, and you're probably eating all these unclean foods, and you probably don't even care. Okay? Verse 25. And he says also in Hosea, Hosea, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living Elohim. Yesiyahu, who's that?
Isaiah.
Yes.
Yesiyahu,
That's Isaiah, right?
also cries concerning Yashrael. Through the number of the children of Yashrael, be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved.
The king had a different name for Isaiah.
Isaias, yeah, also crieth concerning Yishrael. Yeah, and so what are we saying here? Anyone?
He's just saying that Yeshayahu is crying out for Yisrael, that they would be saved, that they would come to Yahushua.
But here's what he's saying. He's saying Yashrael is as the sand of the sea. There's tons of sand, right? If you're trying to number the sand, it's not going to do it. But only a remnant shall be saved. And people think that there's going to be 3 billion people that are raptured because they're sitting there eating pork, and that our Messiah died so that they could eat their pork and they could live in this evil, horrible sin. And it's not going to be that. For he will finish his work and cut it short in righteousness, because a short work will Yahuwah make upon the earth. And as Yeshayahu said before, except Yahuwah Zavod had left us a seed, we had been as Sodom and been made like unto Amorah. And so that is basically saying that Isaiah said, if there was a very small amount of people that actually kept the law, statutes, and commands, and had there not been just a small amount of this, we would have been judged like Sodom and Gomorrah, which was wiped off the map. What shall we say then? That the other nations which followed not after righteousness have obtained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith? But Yashrael, which followed after the Torah of righteousness, has not obtained to the Torah of righteousness. Wow. So this is where people get extremely confused with the words of Paul, right? Because righteousness, where does righteousness come from, Eli?
The Torah.
Righteousness does come from the Torah. Paul says even the righteousness which is of faith. How do we know that faith brings righteousness, Cade?
Because we have the faith to believe in what Yahuwah said, that he will bless us, that he will multiply us, that he will rain down all these blessings and save us by keeping the Torah.
And we also had our forefather, Abram, that was how his faith was, by his righteousness. We knew that he was righteous by his faith. But Yashrael, which followed after the Torah of righteousness, has not attained to the Torah of righteousness. Why didn't they obtain the Torah of righteousness?
Because they weren't following it.
They weren't keeping it.
They didn't do it. They went into captivity over and over. The rest of the Old Testament after Joshua, it's just them going to captivity over and over and over, and they couldn't stop.
Yeah, to obtain righteousness in the Torah, you have to keep the laws, statutes, and commands. But you will never, ever be righteous, or you will never, ever be considered as righteous if you are an evil person. Okay, so here we go. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by works of the Torah, for they stumbled at that stumbling stone. As it is written, Behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling stone and a rock of offense, and whosoever believes on him shall not be ashamed. Here are these very hard words to understand by Paul. Because what it sounds like is
the Torah is a stumbling stone.
Yeah,
it makes people like go to hell.
Yeah, it does.
And I've heard this before, that they're like, oh, the Torah is just a stumbling stone. It was just a test to show we can't do it, to show we're sinners.
Yep. And they will quote Paul all the way until they're in hell, and then they're really going to figure out what's really going on. So let's decipher what this says.
It makes a good argument for those that can't see. It makes a good argument for not understanding that it's a stumbling stone because they weren't able to keep it. They kept sinning. You can keep it, but they chose not to.
Yeah, you can
over and over.
You can absolutely keep the Torah without a shadow of a doubt. You can keep the Torah. It is a light burden. It's not a burden. It's a light task to do, and it's what will keep you alive through all of this. So, where it says, I got dogs always on this thing, so let's spray them so that they're not doing what they're doing here. Okay, so. It sounds like it's getting rainy. Let's try to decipher this last two verses, and then we'll call this one. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith. Let's read this in the NIV. But the people of Israel, I'm going to 31. The people of Israel who pursued the law as the way of righteousness have not attained their goal. Why not? Because they pursued it not by faith, but as it were by works.
Okay, so that's exactly what the Christians are. He said they're not doing the Torah because they believe, but they're thinking they think it was a hard thing. They think they're working. They're trying to work to get their salvation instead of just listening to it. They think they're just see it as a burden, as the rest of the people do. That's how they saw it here.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. And see, as it is written, see, I lay in Zion a stone that causes people to stumble and a rock that makes them fall. And the one who believes in him will never be put to shame. And so that footnotes Isaiah 8 again. And what that is not saying, and I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know exactly what he is saying, but what it is not saying is that the laws, statutes, and commands of our Creator are gone. It does not say they are a stumbling block. If you don't keep the Torah, it will be a stumbling block. You will fall, and you will not know what sin is, and you will die in your sin. Did you have something, Nicole?
In my parentheses, it says, who adheres to, trusts in, and relies on him.
Yeah, and salvation begins at the stake. It begins with the name of Messiah Yahusha. But that is just the beginning. When we say it begins, there is further there's further stuff you have to do. There's 174 commandments that we were able to find in the Torah that you can keep and you can do today. There are things like you not marrying your sister, don't drink the blood, don't eat the fat, keep the Shabbat. Right? The Shabbat is where the mark of the people of Yah begins. And so we can absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, keep the Torah. And if we think we cannot, then I guess you would call your God Paul, and so many Christians do. It is a tragedy that so many people have put their faith into Paul, and they disregard all of the other law and everything all the way to where we get to what we're doing. So with that, we are going to be wrapping up because it's getting a little bit rainy here, and we appreciate your time on this. Sorry we couldn't get any more verses in here. I don't want to yell through this, and we will get this the next time we have some rain-free time, and we thank you guys very, very much. We see you later.
All right.
Shalom.